Really appreciate everyone joining. And hello, everyone. And this meeting is being recorded. And today is the meeting for March 18th, 2026. I think we have a number of folks here, so we can go ahead and get the meeting started. As always, I would like to remind everyone that this meeting is governed by the Linux Foundation antitrust policy. You can find more information at linuxfoundation.org/antitrust-policy, or feel free to reach out to me or Laura or Mike for more details. Just wanted to remind everyone that this is a transparent, collaborative, and harassment-free space. Our goal is to support data protection and the adoption of computational computing technologies. And next is new members. And do we have any new members joining us today? If so, we'd love for you to introduce yourself.
I think I know everybody pretty well here.
Awesome. So there's no new members joining. That's fine. And we're happy to have all of you returning. And then next is agenda review. So here is a list of today's agenda. Are there any additions or changes anyone would like to propose before we proceed?
Nope.
If not, then we'll continue as planned. Next item is approval of previous minutes. We currently, let me see, we do not have a quorum.
No. But as long as there's no particular problems or no questions have been raised about them, we can, I believe, just accept them automatically.
Yeah, and do I hear any objections? Hearing none, the minutes will be considered approved. Thanks, App, for confirming. Next is usual reminders. And here's a quick reminder of ongoing outreach resources and processes. The first one is please post to our jobs board, and we're super welcoming your organization, and please feel free to post your organization's jobs and connect with top talents in the community via our jobs board. And the second resource is that you can share your news by submitting your announcements via the newsletter submission form. And you can also follow blog posts and picture blog post ideas via the content submission form here. All of those links are going to be included as part of the meeting minutes that are sent out. And the third is that you can showcase your membership and by displaying the member badge on your website and link back to the CCC website to highlight your engagement in the CCC. As always, you can always stay connected by following our events calendar to keep track of upcoming webinars, meetups, and industry events. And also, please feel free to join our Slack channel where all the members and post their communication there, and then for joint collaboration. The next item on the agenda today is the outreach meeting cadence voting results. So thank you everyone for those who have voted. Based on the voting outcome, we'll be moving the outreach meeting cadence from bi-weekly to a monthly schedule with the same 1 hour duration and with additional work continuing through our working groups. As part of this transition, we also need to determine which week of the month that new outreach meeting series will be scheduled. So currently, outreach calls are scheduled during the first and third weeks of each month. The governing board takes place during the third week of the month. So the recommendation is to move the outreach call to the second week of each month, starting next month. And so this way, we could have enough time from today's meeting and also avoid any conflict with the GB meeting. And so that we can have enough time to provide any of the updates on the outreach. So any feedback, objections, or comments?
So just to clarify, so that would be 1 week before the GB meeting? Is that
exactly? Yeah, that's
okay.
The thinking, so that we actually have time to prepare materials for them if appropriate.
On my side, makes sense. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. If there are no other comments or feedback, I'll move on to next item. Next item is the executive director updates. I'll hand over to Mike Purcell.
Thank you. Hello. So First of all, I think we need to do some work on the benefits page. We looked at this before, but I've now got someone suggested looking at the OpenSSF one, which is just fantastic. Lists a whole bunch of stuff which we do as well. They have things that we don't do, but I'm in favor of improving ours basically along the lines of what they've done there. And I'm kind of looking for people who might be able to help with that. So if that's something that you might be able to help with, because it's not my skill set, but I really think that it'll help us get members, and that's an important part of what we're here to do in the outreach committee. So I'm really looking for help. It's a time and resources and skills thing, and I know it's not pretty, but if it brings in 2 or 3 new members a year, it's absolutely worth doing. So it shouldn't take too much work, I don't think. We don't need to do it exactly the same as that either. But if we're going to be putting out stuff, this is the sort of thing we need to do.
Rachel, could you, or Rachel or Mike, when you guys plug that OpenSSF link into the chat and take a quick look at it?
Let me find it. OpenSSF member benefits. So actually, this is possibly 2 different pages, but here's one. Where's the chat thing? Here you go. That. Oh, that's the same one. Yeah. I think it's really clear. I think they list out more things than we do. I think we should list out more things.
Yeah, happy to help with this one.
That would be really helpful, Ad. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Again, I don't think it's a huge amount of work, but I think it could have a major impact.
Yep.
So if you want to get in touch with me afterwards, we can maybe work on that.
Sure.
Okay. So the next thing is I'm looking very much, as Rachel already mentioned, for suggestions of topics for the blog. And this is a chance for you to talk to your friends and colleagues on the TAC and say, look, we're looking for things. You've been doing interesting stuff in your job. Why don't you find a way to tell folks about it? And that's, I think, a good thing to do. The next one is suggestions for conferences. What conferences should we be looking at? Should I be looking at attending or trying to get speaking at? Because I think, for instance, there's a big interest at the moment in confidential computing in the Web3 world. And I'm speaking at a conference. I've spoken at one already this year. That was at NearCon a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to be speaking at Consensus Miami at the beginning of May. What other ones should we be looking at? Maybe some digital sovereignty ones. I don't know. And I'd very much appreciate your thoughts. And one example of that is OSS India. So I'm on the panel for speaker submissions, which I'm going through 140 different submissions in one track at the moment, started today. So it's very, very busy. But if you have colleagues or companies, ecosystem partners or anything who are based in India and are going to be there, I'm likely, I think, to be attending. And I would love to meet them. It's in Mumbai. I could possibly travel, but if they're going to be in Mumbai or nearby, it's a great opportunity to spread the word, to get to your ecosystem partners and say, look, you should be involved with the CCC, the work we're doing. Here's why it's important. So please do that. But also, meeting your colleagues and spreading the love there. And the last thing is number 5. You've misspelt summit. The CCC summit is there. It is. Oh no. Yeah, let's go there. Let's look at that.
Are you able to see the link?
Just go to the page.
Yeah, we can see it when you click on it.
Yeah, when you clicked on it, we could see it. Mike, you have a question. What's your hand up?
And maybe you will get to it, which is I saw a word that the Linux Foundation is co-sponsoring CP
This is
Summit.
exactly what I'm trying to do now.
Okay.
If you could show that,
All right.
Rachel. If you could show the
Yes, I'm trying to share the page. Give me a second.
I can
And
share
I guess
my screen if that's going to
the
be
question is partially, is it the LF or is it the CCC?
And this is what I'm going to be going through. Let me share my screen, and I'll show it.
I just shared.
Right.
If that's easier, this one.
Okay, all right, you got that. So this was I heard about this just a few days ago. It's been kept under wraps because there was some interesting discussions going on. So this has happened at the LF level. It is the LF which is doing this, not the CCC. And the intention is for the LF to take it over completely next year. I understand, but it is being co-sponsored or co-run, co-hosted, shall we say, by the Linux Foundation and Opaque. So this means that, at least for this year, we do not need to worry about, about running it. But I think there's a big question about whether we should maybe be doing some more sponsorship. Because last year we reduced our sponsorship for a variety of reasons, part of which that it was felt that it wasn't sufficiently open. That will now not be a problem, given that it's being run by the Linux Foundation, I would hope. I've got a meeting later on today with the head of LF events to find out more information about sponsorship, about panel sessions, all those sorts of things. So this is early days, and this was only, I think, put up this page yesterday or possibly the day before. Ab.
Yeah, can you clarify what that means? Like the Linux Foundation, does that mean that just a couple of things?
Yeah.
From a budgeting perspective, does that mean that Linux Foundation is what? Spending money on the event? And if so, is it their budget or CCC budget? That's one logistical question. But I think the bigger question, and that would be more of a concern, is how come that the Confidential Computing Summit is not hosted by the CCC? From a positioning and a messaging perspective, I think that's a big gap in my opinion.
Let's go one stage at a time. So to the first one, I believe that it is being entirely funded. I mean, all the funding that is coming, that is not being provided by Opaque, is coming from the Linux Foundation, not from the Confidential Computing Consortium. Okay. So the LF Events is a separate group, and they made the decision that they would take this on. And I think the hope is that, particularly as we move into next year, the CCC, it will be the CCC's thing, right? And the reason it hasn't been run by the CCC is because it was set up originally by Opaque. They started it, they took the name. And there were discussions, some quite painful discussions, a year and a half or so ago, about whether we should be taking it over, whether Opaque wanted to stop doing it. And it got quite awkward. And that's fine; these things happen, right? And so the CCC end up not doing it, and we've continued to sponsor it. We did less sponsorship last year, as I said. We may want to do more sponsorship this year. But I think that having it as part of the LF is very good for the CCC. Hopefully, good for the community. Good for Opaque as well. In the longer term, they're a member of ours, which is good. So historically, it's not been something we've owned because it was started off by Opaque, but this gives us an opportunity to get more involved in the running of it, given that it's going to be owned by the LF, and of course, as we're an LF project, it makes sense for us to be very closely wedded to it, at least once it's fully taken over by the LF next year, which I believe is the plan. Rachel.
Yeah, so given CCC is part of a Linux Foundation project, so are we able to get the discounted rate? for
These
this.
are again questions that I hope to find out when I have the conversation with Angela Brown, who is the head of LF events later on today.
Yeah, definitely. And that would be
So if
helpful.
there are particular questions we'd like to ask, I think that's let me write them down so that I can ask her particularly. So CC Summit, discounted rates for sponsorship, question mark, for attendees, question mark, 2027, question mark. What other questions do we want to be asking?
I think that's mainly from my end. And then given that Linux Foundation, like we are Linux Foundation member, right? And then we're Linux Foundation project. So there should be those benefits that we could leverage on and to
Yeah,
unlock.
indeed, I would hope so too. That may not come fully into place until next year when we take it. You know, if I'm right about it being taken over fully. But yes, I will absolutely ask those questions. Yulia, hi, how you doing?
Mike, yeah, the question, I do remember that OC3 was usually positioned as the ecosystem event and CC Summit was more about end customer. Given this change in the hosting process, and I think even the attendee rates has decreased significantly, do we expect the audience would be more, I don't know, developer oriented? Do we know what is the customer audience in general for due to these changes?
We have no idea. That's another question I've already written down. What's the target audience?
So, Mike, are there any plans to? I mean, it's a question as well, right? If there are any plans to update the official Confidential Computing Summit website because it's still pointing to the last year summit.
I suspect that the plan is absolutely to do that now. This is created official. Again, I will website point to LF.
The reason I'm asking is because I've been looking at the official website almost every day. I wasn't aware that LF was taking over.
I haven't. Yeah, I know. So this has been news to me as well. I literally only found out a few days ago myself. So I will absolutely ask those questions.
And then, Mike, just to add on to that, I think just having somewhere on this front page, I know that we have the opportunity to sponsor it, but just having like kind of like an informational of Linux Foundation's work on confidential computing represented by the Confidential Computing Consortium, just kind of like a brand, like shout out at least. So that like maybe they want to meet, they want to get to know more information about what's confidential computing, and we would be like the authority to do that. I imagine
that may be tricky. I can ask.
Okay. I'm very disturbed by this, to be completely honest. All of a sudden, like the Confidential Computing Consortium is like nowhere seen. Has this been run by the governing board, or I mean, the last meeting I was
They
there.
will be finding out in 40 minutes.
Okay.
This has happened from the Linux Foundation, not from the CCC. We are a sub foundation of the CCC. The decision was made at a level where I didn't know about it either. Just.
Well, I should honestly, I'll speak openly here. The Linux Foundation should have reached out to the CCC before making the decision. Bluntly.
So, hi all. I can speak from a little experience. I don't know about this case specifically, so I'll let Mike talk to Angela about that. But in my years at the Linux Foundation, I've seen this happen multiple times. Usually, what happens is the event owners, organizers, maybe it's not going that well. Maybe they're not making money off of it. They're losing money. They don't want to keep investing in this. And so they approach our events team. That's how I've seen this happen. For example, Open Networking Summit. I saw this happen, and the LF agreed to take that over. It remained an LF, in other words, under the events team. They take on all of the financial risk, all of that for several years until the Linux Foundation Networking Project basically said, all right, we've seen you've done a great job with this. We're willing to assume the risk. And so we'll take that event, still run by the Linux Foundation events team, but it's no longer a central LF event. It's now an LF networking event. So again, like Mike can talk more about Angela to how this came about, what the future plans are, all of that. But just from past experience, I've seen this happen with several different events that were related to a project community, but came into LF Central through that sort of channel. And my guess is that that's something along those lines that happened here as well.
I suspect so as well. I don't have the details. I have a few more details, but I can't share all of them. I have to say this is a positive for us, right? As you say, LF is taking the financial risk here. At the same time, we get the benefit of all the things that the LF does in terms of scale and expertise. So there's scope and scale benefits here. We need to find ways to make sure that we are closely associated with it. And I'd be very surprised if the LF events team didn't want us to be doing that, because this is absolutely what we're there for. So I think this should be very much a positive for us. I know it's a bit of a surprise, and it was a surprise to me as well. And when I first heard, my jaw dropped a little, but that's fine, right? So I think we.
I'm sorry, Mike. I get the point about, and again, I have all the trust in Linux Foundation. That's not the concern. That's not my concern. My concern is a positioning issue, right? It's all of a sudden, Computational Computing Consortium is not visible, right? Although we are part, it's kind of, again, I know this strange relationship we have, like or linkage we have with Linux Foundation. Again, I'm not. It is what it is. But purely from a positioning perspective, now, like we were talking previously, CCC, we're talking to, and even AMD as a sponsor previously, right? We all contributed, whether it's time, effort, money, and to build an equity into the CCC. Now, all of a sudden, it's becoming Linux. This is a positioning thing. I get the point that there's a financial risk. But the process, just the sudden change, I mean, that to me is something's broken.
Yeah,
I get the point. The history was what. Please let me finish. I know that this is, history happened in the past, and appreciate Dan for the context. But something is broken. We are CCC, basically the responsible for the enablement of the ecosystem. And I really would have appreciated that the Linux Foundation reaches out to the CCC at board member, the chair, to say, hey, this is coming. What are your thoughts? Discuss it. And by the way, this change, this late, we're March, this is coming in June. It's really tight. Hopefully it will not impact a lot. But anyway, I'm not trying to be, me, Mike, I always push for things, but I just want to make sure that in the future, CCC is consulted whenever anything that's related to CC. I'm talking about.
And I will communicate that. I will absolutely communicate that. I do understand. It does feel odd. I think, as Dan pointed out, this is the way these things work sometimes. I hopefully this, I think that getting our name onto it shouldn't be difficult. We were planning to sponsor it anyway. I'm not sure how much money we put aside in the budget to sponsor it. We may wish to up that. Do you know, Rachel, how much we put aside in the budget for it?
For the sponsorship, we propose to decrease the sponsorship tier for this year for C-Summit, or equivalent to last year.
I think we were gold last year, which was 30,000. The diamond is the top sponsorship, and that's 75,000. And I think we might want to talk to the board. I will be discussing this with the board in half an hour. And if we want to say, if the outreach community wants to say, we think, given this change, now's a good time to up that to 75,000, I think that would go down very well with the LF and with this this thing with the committee. So, but that's I can't speak for this group, but that would be my suggestion.
I'd also ask Angela about that, Mike, because generally LF projects get a discount on sponsorships of LF events.
Yeah, indeed. So we may well have a discount. Exactly. Thank you.
We were the platinum for last year, and then our plan was to continue as platinum or decrease to the next tier for this year. Mm-hmm.
That's helpful. Thank you.
So, Mike, another question.
Yeah,
sorry. Another question to LF, just to understand for 2027. When we talk about financial risk or financial or cost, like how much are they taking on? I think that's information that will be useful to the GB to make an informed decision. If we are to if the CCC to take on next year.
There's any suggestion that the CCC should be taking it on next year. I think the suggestion is that the LF continues to take it on until we as the GB and we as the CCC and it's when it's appropriate the LF feel it's appropriate to for us to take it over. But this is literally, I have no information about this at this stage. So this is Dan has more information on this because he's seen it happen on a number of occasions than I do in many ways. So I've got lots of questions I'll be asking Angela. And I'll be as open as I can about that. I don't think there's anything underhand here, but yes, we do need answers on a number of questions.
And I would maybe just caution. I know this. A number of us are looking at this with an arched eyebrow and saying, but before we rush in and say CCC needs to take this over, I think we need to understand what does that mean for the CCC's financial commitments?
Absolutely.
And what does it mean for how much work? Because putting on one of these things is a boatload of work. And whether or not we have if we are going to take it over, it's going to fall to the outreach committee heavily to do it. So we got to be careful what we sign ourselves up for here.
Yeah. Now, I don't think it's, sorry, carry on, Mike.
So Mike, that's literally my question that I asked Mike Farron-Jones. That's the question I would like to get from LF is aside, I get the point about the energy and the efforts, no problem. But there's also a way that if LF, we pay them and we have the CCC host, that's the host, but we quote unquote outsource to the LF events team. I would love personally, I would love that, but I'm guessing that the GB as well would love to understand that question. I'm just trying to get ahead of questions from the GB.
Exactly. Yeah. We looked at different models for this a year and a half ago. And I don't know. Yeah, again, it's still only half hosted this year by the LF. So we need to understand what they think might happen next year and what we think would be plausible. The resource the resource ask in terms of money and time would be significant if the CCC felt that it wanted to take it over at any point. But I think we gain a lot if it's just run by the LF for the foreseeable future. That would be my guess.
Yeah, so I think one of the most.
Just quick clarification question: is the plan for Linux Foundation to entirely host the CC Summit, like starting next year?
I think so, but I do not have a definitive answer for you on that. And yeah, so I couldn't say for sure at this point.
Yeah, it would be great to find out from Angela.
Yes.
So just a comment here. This is pretty evidently a very important topic to a number of folks here, but we just decided to move the outreach meetings to once a month, and this is just 3 months from now. I think we should have a session to discuss this further, Mike, when you get some answers from LF before 1 month from now.
Sure. So we can absolutely have a working committee, a task force, as it were. We always said that we could do task force, and I think having a task force for CC Summit makes a lot of sense. So let's once I've got some information, I'll put it on the Slack and on the email, and we can decide what to do about it. Does that work for everyone?
Yep, and I second that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a very good call.
Yeah, that works.
That way we can be agile. That's a word we like to use, isn't it? Or used to like. Has that gone out of fashion? I've lost track. Agile is no longer cool, maybe? I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, so any other feedback, comments, or questions on this topic?
And I apologize for bringing it to you. You're finding out an hour before the GB, right? So you've won a little bit, but I apologize for it being rather out of the blue. It was out of the blue for me as well. So there we go.
Okay, if no further comments, then we'll move on to the next topic, which is events. So for the event update, we just concluded the OC3, and then CCC was a sponsor of OC3 this year. So wanted to share some of the ritual and the stats with the committee. And from an event standpoint, we saw participation pretty strong overall with 738 online registrations and 250 on-site attendees. And so in total, the event represented participants from 55 countries and 457 companies and organizations. We're also able to get these information from an event host, and then we could certainly do a follow-up engagement with them. And in parallel, we also ran a coordinated CCC social campaign around the event, covering the pre-event promotion, real-time engagement during the event, and also the post-event recap content. So now I'll briefly walk through the CCC OC3 2026 social campaign. So here's the campaign outline, and that this was conducted by the vendor we work with, which is North Star Engagement LLC by Kate. So at high level, the goal of the campaign was to increase CCC's visibility at OC3, highlight member speakers, and extend the reach of the event beyond just those attending. And the campaign was structured in 3 phases. First was a pre-event phase, where this focused on building awareness and anticipation. We shared posts highlighting key sessions and speakers, including the CCC last sessions and member participations. So here's the LinkedIn posts that were already posted. And during the event, this is a second focus, and which shifted to real-time engagement. And this included short live updates, quick polls, and capturing key quotes from sessions to keep the community involved as things were happening. And the third was the post-event content. And then this was centered on recap and thought leadership. And we published recap content, including blogs and on-demand recordings to extend the conversation beyond event itself. So overall, those are some of the highlights that in the pipeline and post-event to continue those engagement and the momentum. And overall, those kind of 3 phases and gave us a more structured way to engage the community before, during, and after OC3, which helps set a baseline we can continue to refine our future campaigns. So that's it on the event update. Next, I will hand it over
just
to...
Quick question on that, Rachel. Was that little mini campaign entirely for the CCC benefits? Because I see a lot of OC3 branding on it. I mean, I think it benefits the conference as much as it benefits us. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying I'm wondering if they co-sponsored it, or were they doing their own thing and this was just us?
Yeah, this is just our content engagement that was done by Kate, North Star Engagement LLC.
Okay.
So is the feedback
it's we're speaking at their conference, right? And as sponsors of the conference, we also want the conference to do well.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
That was a goal, and I think Kate intentionally wanted to make sure that we have the OC3 branding in the content that we post as well. So is the feedback to only include CCC branding for the content engagement?
Yeah, it's fine. I just, it just struck me as I mean, if just as the slides were flying by, it looked like an OC3 campaign, which, as you point out, Mike, we have an interest in the conference's success. So it's maybe not terrible. It just was a striking characteristic.
So is the feedback to kind of minimize the conference branding and then maximize CCC branding, or will be some?
I don't know if I've drawn a conclusion yet. There was just a thing that was highly noticeable by me, is that it is equally branded as an OC3 thing. And I'm haven't thought hard enough about it to understand whether or not it's good or bad or indifferent. So anyway, let's move on. Never mind.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that feedback, and we can certainly take that feedback with North Star engagement, also with Laura, and see what we could do and to amplify more of CCC branding, maybe have more of a CCC color palette and involved or included in the post. And so that's certainly something that we can discuss with them.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions, or feedback here? Yes, Julia.
Yes, Rachel. The quick question, I would assume that one of the goals for this kind of marketing campaigns is to increase the number of followers, right? To leverage CCC expertise and bring more to the CCC. Given that CCC supports these events, well, annually, will we at some point of time compare the tracking? I don't know, number of people involved, more engaged with CCC specifically, thanks to more marketing campaign, or how do you plan to assess the KPIs for this kind of support of the events specifically?
Yeah, so I think those would be like the key metrics question that's tied to the marketing strategic goals that Laura set for the beginning of this year. And so one of those KPIs, I think, for this OC3 specifically was engagement, and then like social post engagement. And so you're saying that you would like to suggest one of the KPIs to be the number of followers of those social media. Is that correct?
I'm more curious if that was one of the reasons, right, to support not just the event itself and the CCC participation in it, but also the overall goal to increase the number of followers and engagements with CCC, because that's what I believe the whole marketing is all about, to continue to involve more community to CCC from marketing perspective. So I do hope that these kind of activities could be tracked, and we could somehow compare that they bring the impact that we're thinking about.
Yes, definitely. I think that's really great feedback, and then we'll share these with the North Star LLC as well, and then make sure that all those posts are having the corresponding metrics number. And I think we've, as I mentioned earlier, and this would help us set a baseline for the future campaigns and to like measure against that, to understand like whether we've seen increased engagement or followers or any metrics we want to measure because of those events. So yeah, we'll definitely continue to monitor these metrics. Yeah, thanks for your feedback and suggestion. Any other questions, comments? And if not, then I'll move on to the next topic, which is marketing. I'll hand over to Dan to talk about the website metrics and social engagement for the month of February.
I will provide an update actually. So for
Angela.
social,
Angela.
yeah. So for the website, we also see a dip comparing to last year, February. So the reason behind this is very similar to what we talked about last time. Basically, it's not about the drop in interest, but it's more likely a reflection of a lighter campaign-driven traffic this year, and especially um, um, from referral-based promotion. So our traffic for this month, particularly, we can see that it's still concentrated around the homepage and key evergreen pages. But like last year, so for last year, the concentration was mainly on webinar resources, especially the webinar resources brought in significantly more views. So we do not see the same spike in webinar and membership related traffic this year. So
Angela, sorry,
our suggestion,
just
yeah.
briefly, what that says to me is we need some webinars. People need to come up with webinars, right? Webinars and blog posts.
So webinars, but we also, I think for at this point, we can also try to promote one use case related blog or one explainer blog. So it's more like a technical content, like what we talked about last time. So it's not necessarily the webinar itself that drove the traffic last year. It's mainly because of the technical piece of content that we had last year comparing to this year. So I think to recover, we could either publish one member story or promote the one explainer, or use case story, or even like a technical cross post from the community would work too.
Has there been any material content put up apart from the newsletters and a couple of blog posts that I've done this year?
Mostly new member announcements, that sort of thing, but those don't drive clicks.
Cool. So we need the folks in this meeting either to write stuff or to get their colleagues to write stuff. I mean, I can write bits and pieces, but it's the member stories and the technical pieces that really make the difference.
Exactly.
So please go to your TAC equivalents or just your colleagues and say, let's put something together. A really interesting piece on confidential computing and why it's important for AI or sovereignty or manufacturing or whatever it may be. Sorry, I keep harking on about this, but there we go. Thanks, Angela. Sorry to interrupt. Please carry on.
No worries. Yulia, I saw you had your mic turned on. Did you have anything to say?
Yes. I'm just thinking that potentially in the past, these were the technical related stuff that inspired more attention. But I would also assume that
I think you might be talking.
I can hear.
Can you hear me?
Yeah?
I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
So should I continue? Angela, do you hear me now?
Yes, please. Sorry, it's my internet connection is not stable.
Okay, sure. So in the past, the technical articles brought attention, but I would also assume that business related might also inspire and attract attention to the audience, like business cases, not from the technological perspective. And from that perspective, I do remember last time we discussed that cases that could relate to at least CCC hosted projects could be supported. What is the current stage at this moment for those and for any business cases in general?
We've been working on refining the guidelines. Why don't we talk about that at the end of this? Because it's a very good point to bring up. Dan has been working on that with some folks there. Is that okay, Dan?
Of course.
Cool. Okay, let's let Angela finish this, but a good point, Yulia.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And then, so this is the overall stats for this month, and then we can jump to the next one. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, as for social stats, for February, we closed February with an increase of 24 followers. In total 2650. during the month, and total impression reached over 2,700 with 155 engagement. So and according to this graphic at the bottom, we can see two clear spikes during the month. The February 3rd one was the spike was driven by the newsletter distribution, which helped increase the visibility across channels. And then the Feb 13 spike came from the membership announcement, so which also became the month's top performing content. So far for February, the membership post was the most popular one. But as Dan mentioned, it's not something that happens every month, and it doesn't come as a regular cadence as well. So to keep up with the traffic for social as well, we do need to have more technical content. But overall, it's been a pretty healthy stats. Any questions for socials?
Thank you, Angela. If no other questions, we can move on to other business in which we have
why don't we let Dan talk about the guidelines, because that's kind of related to the last piece, yeah?
Yeah, so I mean, there's not a ton to say at this point. We have put comprehensive guidelines together, which are very aligned to what other open source projects have across the Linux Foundation. Those have been reviewed by the Outreach Committee leadership and Mike. Folks have weighed in. We've made some adjustments based on that. So the latest status was last week. I sent that back for final review. So as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty close, and we should be able to share those more broadly very soon.
Yeah. So what I think, I wasn't aware it was a final review. So maybe we should try and get a call together, Dan, me, you, Rachel, and Laura, to finish that off, and then or even if it's not, or just have a deadline so that we get it done.
Yeah,
that would make sense. That'd be great. Okay. Thank you.
So the item on the other business is to discuss whether individuals could join the CCC instead of organizations.
Yeah, so this came up. I'm not sure where from, but it's a very simple answer. The answer is they can't. But here's the thing: it shouldn't matter. Because individuals are welcome to join almost any of our meetings, not the GB meetings specifically, but they are welcome to join all of the outreach meetings, all of the TAC meetings, and all of the SIG meetings, and they can participate as much as they want. The only things they can't do are vote, but we tend to do as much as we can by consensus anyway, and they're also unable to stand as a general member rep. But just getting involved, all those sorts of things is absolutely fine. If we had a non-member who contributed some blog material, for instance, if they were associated with the company, we might want them to work on that. But if they're doing it as a private individual, I suspect that we'd probably be able to publish it. We'd need to think about that. But there's basically very little need for people to be able to join as individuals. So please, if you know people who want to come along, just encourage them to do so. There's no way to do it as under the LF rules. It just doesn't exist as an opportunity, really.
Thanks for the insights, Mike. And any questions or comments on this topic?
And are there any concerns? If there's anything I've missed out about why it might be important, I'd love to understand. Sounds like not. Oh, there's a... question from Yulia to Dan about adding a reference. I think it depends. Just a side reference is rather different to a full discussion of how a CCC project was important to what's going on. I think it depends on sort of the balance, right, Dan? There's a question from Yulia in the chat.
Yes, and that's the thing. We're always happy to review. So I'm not I know you said that it was shared with the CCC. I'm not sure where that was, but I don't believe I've seen this. So I'm happy
So
to take
apologies, Julia, if we dropped the ball on that one, but we can certainly work that on. Certainly, once we've got those finalized, the guidelines finalized, we should be able to move. Ab, sorry.
No, yeah. So I just to clarify. So are we there was a edit. Are we rolling back the edit about the CCC needing to be organizations based as opposed to individuals, or sorry, I got the kind of last.
What you said there was an edit. I'm not aware of an
It was
edit.
just a slight language tweak on the join page. It already said organization twice. Now I think it says it 5 times. And so just to make it very clear that there are no individual memberships. I don't see any need to roll that back.
Okay. No, that's just okay. No, it's just more of a like cleaning up the text. Okay, got it.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Sorry, it's your meeting to close, Rachel, not mine. I apologize. Please.
No worries. And thank you so much, everyone, for your time joining today. And then please feel free to let us know if you have any additional questions or comments. And if no further feedback, we'll conclude the meeting. Mike Purcell, you have one last thing to add?
Yeah, I'm at RSA in San Francisco next week. If you're going to be there or you're in the Bay Area, please let me know, and it might be great to meet. So maybe see you or your colleagues there. That would be great.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you in the next month. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.